I once witnessed a good friend tell another person, when you can pay your way, you can say your way. Let's get unbothered.
Everything bothers him.
He's unbothered.
He calls it unbothered, but that's what's cute because everything bothers him. He's bothered. I'm a botherina.
What's up, everybody? Thai Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Snoopy Bijou is currently not having a Whimsy's alligator. She is instead, she's really fucking Mr. Bill up right now. She is instead having her Plato treat. That is the new accidental sponsor of Unbothered by Thai Rivera. Sponsor of Thai... Anyway, but really Cindy is the sponsor for these particular Plato treats because she sent us some Plato treats, which I showed you guys last time, and I was just about out, and I haven't quite gotten to the new bags yet, but thank you, Cindy. All I know, blah, blah, blah. Amazon affiliates link down below if you want to check out Plato treats. We're no longer going to be doing Whimsies. I know it was a good run, Whimsies, but it didn't work out. Anyway, what really is working out, Karla's homemade salsa. And I'm going to tell you guys a funny story about this. Karla's homemade salsa has fall flavors. That's not the funny part. But yeah, so fall for chipotle, and pumpkin habanero are the two fall flavors. And she posted that they were coming, and then I saw that, and then in my head I was thinking, I'm going to have to try those, and I wasn't looking forward to it. Sorry, Carla. Because, nothing against the pumpkin habanero community, but I didn't really see how those two flavors were going to work out together. I just, for me, I was like, pumpkin pie, no. And then Chipotle, I'm going to be honest, I never am a fan of Chipotle. It's I shouldn't say it because I am Mexican, and I know people already question that and think I'm Asian, but if it makes you feel any better, I don't like cock sauce either. What's that? I forget what it's called. It's the rooster sauce and I didn't mean, but just a friend of mine used to call it cock sauce. But yeah, anyway, whatever I'm trying to get at, what is that sauce? Now it's going to bother me, and it's going to come to me later on after I don't have any of it. I don't like it. Anyway, my point was I don't like Chipotle. And so then Karla hit me up to let me know that she had the fall flavors. And in my head, I was like, as a person that's sponsored by Karla's Homemade Salsa, I actually do have to try the salsa because obviously I've got to mention it. And I'm not going to lie to you guys and be like, oh, it's so good. I love it. And then I fucking didn't even try it. You know what I mean? And then you're hitting me up like, this was not good. Nothing against the pumpkin habanero community, but this is not good. And then we're all in trouble with the pumpkin habanero community. But anyway, it didn't break. Jesus Christ. Why did that happen like that? I'm not even moving anything. Anyway, so the point is, the fall for Chipotle and pumpkin habanero are fucking amazing. That's what ended up happening with that, is because I had already planned it in my head. I was going to tell Carla that the jars broke on... if I didn't like them, because I was thinking, I'm really not going to like these. And, to really make myself be an honest sport about it, my deal with myself, this is the way I negotiate with myself, is I had to take an actual, a small but full spoonful, and so... it was baby food, I just stirred it up and then just took a spoonful. I fell in love with both flavors. And I'm not bullshitting you guys. I mean, I really didn't think it was going to be good. I didn't, like I said, I had already planned my excuse for Carla. I was going to say that the jars broke, so I didn't ever get to try them. And, I couldn't possibly take another two from you. And, but so good. So you can find that down below in the description box. Karla's Homemade Salsa is the best. These fall flavors, I'm not bullshitting you guys. It's $7 for an 8-ounce. That's what it is. And I'm not bullshitting you guys. They're so fucking good. And I can't wait to have my breakfast right after. Anyway, I said anyway, and Bijou stopped humping Mr. Bill. I hate her so much. But here's the thing, you guys. I wasn't going to address this and I wasn't going to bring it up. And I got a little annoyed at the bar earlier tonight at Chancla's because this situation was going on. And if you're part of the community or you've been watching me for a while, you're going to know what I'm talking about. If not, I don't know, catch up on some old episodes or whatever, because I hate when people watch these and then they act like, oh, you're just complaining about blah, 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 about what I addressed on another episode where I said I wasn't complaining about that. Like, that's not even the point anymore. But you either didn't watch the episode before or you're watching an episode later and you want to talk to me. Anyway, my point is, this is like something that I have to address, and I didn't want to. I really did not want to ever have to address this for two reasons. And I'll explain those two reasons in a minute. I'm just trying to find the way to actually say what I want to say, because this one I really don't want to come out wrong. I mean, I just don't. Because I feel like this particular person can be beneficial to the Las Vegas comedy scene. And I feel like he can be good at, what it is he's supposed to be doing. And I feel like right now he's in his way. And this is going to sound weird, but to me, this is more like an intervention through YouTube, because I don't know how else to address this, because when you're in person with this person, it's like they won't hear you out. They talk so much and they make so many this is this, and it's like typical addict behavior, and I don't want to put anybody out there, but at the same time, there's no way to not put people out there at certain points, especially when they make it so it's your business, because the thing is, there's a particular promoter on the scene. He goes by the name of Trouble. And this particular promoter came on the scene kind of out of nowhere. He used to have something to do with Sapphire. I don't remember what. There was a point where he mentioned to me that he used to have something to do with Sapphire. I used to perform at Sapphire. The person I used to perform for there was Phil Pareto, but I didn't know all the behind the scenes people. And I've told you guys I have a terrible memory, and the frequency that I went to that room with, it's completely normal if I didn't necessarily remember Trouble when I first, when he first approached me. Later on, after I had stopped doing Sapphire, which wasn't for any other reason because of the pandemic and everything like that. And then he has seemed to kind of sprout up Trouble on the comedy scene. I want to say it was during the pandemic. I could be wrong on that by a couple of months, but that's about where it is. So anyway, he has a great room, and I feel like, well, I'm going to be honest. I feel like he's fucking up. You know what I mean? I might as well just say it the way I mean it. Because, the thing is, there are few things you can do that will make all of the comedians universally not like you. And one of those things is not paying people. So let's just go with the professional stuff, because that's really all I want to talk about, just as far as being a professional, And like I said, it might be kind of an intervention, because he mentioned not too long ago that he was going to rehab, but I don't know what happened. I don't think he ever ended up going to rehab, because all of a sudden he was out and drinking again, and it hadn't even been 30 days. But I don't judge that, just because different people are going to go through their own shit. So I'm not judging that, but I would say, honestly, 100%, if you're watching this, Trouble, if you hit me up, I will hook you up with somebody that is a legit sponsor in the fucking program. The worst thing everybody has to know about me, because I know people like to cancel people and like to judge and shit like that, but I really am pulling for Trouble. So I'm going to tell this story, but what you need to know, what Trouble needs to know, what everybody needs to know, is Trouble is Mexican and Aquarius. I am Mexican and Aquarius, so I automatically am pulling for you. And I know some people would say that makes me a ditzy bitch, or whatever the fuck you would say it. Have your fun. But the fact of the matter is, I'm pulling for Artemio, and I hope in a couple of months I get to do an update where I'm like, now this man is acting right, and he's doing what we need him to do, and he's doing what he needs him to do, because I really feel like he could be an asset to the Las Vegas comedy scene. But he's just gotten in the bad habit of thinking that the Las Vegas comedy scene is about drama, which I can understand where people would look at me and be like, how dare you, Ty? You're a part of the reason that people look at the Las Vegas comedy scene as drama. But let's be honest, the average person is an idiot and they're not paying attention, because I haven't done anything to cause drama. I called out things that legitimately happened to me. A person legitimately tried to steal my joke. Another person legitimately attacked me when I was in a professional space. I mean, like, all of the stuff that I've said, and when I've been wrong, I've owned that. And so, like, you know, it's not like I'm running around here roughshod, acting like an asshole. But anyway, what I'm trying to get at is the stuff I've done hasn't been drama for the sake of drama. And anybody that's not paying attention to that or hasn't noticed that, it's because they don't want to. My intentions are really good, and I feel like when it comes to the Las Vegas comedy scene, Trouble could, like I said, be an asset. Because he is good at promoting. He does have that personality. People do show up to his shit. But then he parties too much. And then, you know, like, turns into an asshole at a certain point in the night. And not only turns into an asshole at a certain point in the night, then there have been the instances where he hasn't paid people. And, like, you know, if you bring this up, like, because, like, here was my strategy with it. And let me do it this way. This makes the most sense. If I give you guys what my thing was with Trouble, like how it went down for me personally, and then I'll interject anything from there. Sorry, I'm just like, I want to do this the right way. So the best way to do it for you is to just give you my history, what my chronology has been with Trouble, and then we'll editorialize in between and tell you guys other shit. But it's just so fucking difficult. Trouble kind of appeared out of nowhere, and he had said that he wanted to book me. He saw me at Chancla's and, you know, said I was great and asked me if I remember him from Sapphire. And it was the old Chancla's when it was on Desert Inn. And he asked me if I was, so yeah, it still could have been. Yeah, it was during the pandemic. Yeah, because Notoriety was around and that happened. All right, so that's where we're at. So anyway, he wanted me to do his show, and I was like, okay, cool. And then he gave me his number. So then I text him. You know, I sent him a text message saying, like, you know, you said you wanted to book me on your show, like, you know, let me know what dates work, something like that, you know. And then he responded to me at a point, and he was like, who's this? And then I was like, Thai. And then he was like, what Thai? And then I was like, Thai Rivera. And which I'm not tripping off of any of this, you know what I mean? And so he's like, oh, he was like, Bruce handles all the booking. And I was like, all right, cool. And I was like, which Bruce? Because I know two Bruces. And he was like, I only know one Bruce. Like, that was his response through text. And I was just like, you know, in my head, I'm just like, that's not helpful. And I was like, okay, cool. And I didn't, like, you know, pursue it any further, I don't think. But, you know, I know there was no argument on my end or whatever. I thought it was dumb, but it's like, you know, some people, I guess, are unprofessional or whatever. And, like, that's really just the way I felt about it at that point. Because, like, I didn't know him from anybody, you know what I mean? I didn't have an opinion on him other than he was that guy, you know, that told me that he wanted me to do a show. So, like, you know, I'm not tripping, but at the same time, I'm not feeding it. It's, you know, cool. So Bruce hits me up a while later, and I end up, you know, booking a date with Bruce, you know, and Bruce Purcell was who he was talking about, who's a friend of mine, and more importantly, a friend of Bijou's. Like, when me and Bijou do date night, Bruce Purcell, Bijou sits in his lap. And so, you know, like, it was easy for me to deal with Bruce Purcell. He booked me for a particular date. Then I ended up having to cancel. And it wasn't last minute, but it was like maybe 2 weeks out, I want to say, is what it was. And if it was sooner, I'm sorry. But, like, you know, Steve Trevino had booked me for a Thursday and a Friday in Texas, which you can imagine is probably going to pay more than a local spot, you know, so I had to cancel. But that didn't stop Trouble from giving me a hard time and making it seem like I had done something unprofessional, you know, like later on I don't know what platform, because that's one thing that's annoying is, like, you know, sometimes he'll hit you up on different platforms, but it's with bullshit. And it's like, I don't want to argue with you. I don't want to, like, whatever you're trying to do right now, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I'm not part of this. I'm busy doing other shit, and you just hit me up out of nowhere to argue about absolutely nothing. And I do mean that. Like, there've been times where he's hit me up and been like, for you to shout out Carla Salsa so much, they better be paying you a lot. And then, like, I just was like, I really love Carla's homemade salsa. Like, I do. It's just what it is. So, I mean, like, I shout it out all the time because I love it. And I was trying to explain that to him. And, because I, like, whatever people say to me, you know what I mean? I'll tell them what the thinking is behind it, especially if I think that they're hitting me up with good intentions, because, like, he would like preface it with like an LOL at one of my wow videos. You know what I mean? Like, he'd send like an LOL about that, and then like the next one is like Carla's homemade salsa, and then he, like, all of a sudden starts trying to, like, I wouldn't shout anything out that much for whatever he's saying. And I was just like, in my head, I'm just like, I don't even know why this is something we're talking about. So I try to switch the subject, and he tries to turn that into an argument. And it's just like, and then also has to mention something about Steve Trevino, and like, no, not Steve specifically, but just like, that I had ditched him or his show for doing something. And it's like, well, yeah, that's the way this business works. And most bookers just understand that. And like bookers, promoters, and I mean bookers / promoters, anybody at home that doesn't know, because usually they're pretty much the same. Sometimes it's different jobs, but in a lot of cases when you're dealing with these bar shows and stuff like that, it's the same person. It's the booker and the promoter. You know what I mean? Like we're not ever supposed to argue with them, and they shouldn't argue with us, really. Like, really, that relationship should be the definition of symbiotic. Your job is to make me money. My job is to make you money. You know what I mean? Like, that's as simple as that's supposed to be. And so as long as I get you the promotional materials you need, whatever it is you need from me so that we can promote this show, so that we can do what we have to do, so that we can make some money, is like as much contact as we should have with each other. That, and congratulating each other on a show that we pulled off that was fucking amazing. Like, that really should be the relationship between booker and a comedian, and so it's my job to fucking kill it for you. And yeah, if I know that you know how to treat an audience. I know that your show starts reasonably on time. I know that there's not going to be any kind of bullshit. Then I will invite people out. I'll make sure people know that I'm at your spot, because it's a spot I can tell people, like, hey, come see me in this very professional setting here in Las Vegas. You're visiting, you want to pay a ticket, you want to buy it somewhere. So that's what my relationship would be with the booker. I am just supposed to, have people come out to see me. And if nobody comes out to see me, that's something that happens too sometimes. It didn't happen when I did this other show for him. You know what I mean? Like, people were very happy to see me, and some people were there specifically for me because I'm an asshole all over town. And when I say I'm an asshole all over town, I'm being fun at the open mics, at the shows that I'm doing. Like last night I got annoyed because a guy was recording me, and it wasn't because of the content or what I was talking about. It was because, stop being a creep and recording me. I'm trying to work on new material right now, and that's what I want to do, is concentrate on that. I don't care about your fucking, and I let him record for a while, but it's like, it's not about your fucking viral moment right now, or whatever the fuck you're trying to do, and nothing's gonna go viral anyway. Bigger people have tried. I don't care who you are, bigger people have tried. So the thing is, the audience just doesn't love me that way. The viral audience just doesn't like my shit. They'll fucking talk shit for a day or two, but it doesn't turn into what you guys think it's gonna be. So stop wasting your time and my time. But anyway, so I've been being fun at all the spots and stuff like that. And so people will show up because I am around a lot. And then there's the people that come in from out of town. So that's my point with, why we shouldn't have anything to argue about, besides the fact that my social media doesn't have to be what you think it is, or it should be. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not working for you on any level in that way. And when I promote your shit, you're going to be fine with it. So there's really nothing for us to argue, but for some reason, there's always an argument happening that I sometimes don't even know about. I'm not thinking about anything that's going on in your head. I'm not thinking about it. And I the reason that this came to a head, I'll tell you guys why. Like, I guess I should continue with the story. And okay, so there were instances like that. Then there was another point where he said he wanted to book me for, and I was like, well, I was out of town. It was after the Steve Trevino thing. He's being cool again, and he says he wants to book me, and I'm open to working. So I'm like, okay, yeah, let's figure it out. And so, I we figure out a date, we figure out everything the way it's going to work out. And then, he asked me to send over pictures. Well, I had just sent a bunch of pictures to another club, actually 2 other clubs. And like, they were able to use them for their promotional, their promotional material. And I sent like several of them. And he asked me for one, and which I was cool with. And I sent him several as well, because he makes really great flyers. The digital flyer right now, my Facebook is him. Like, he's very talented in a lot of ways. That's why I wish he would fucking get it together. And I hope one day I get to do like revisit or an update where it's like, Trouble has gotten it together, everybody. I really do. So I'm sending the pictures like he asked me. I send him a bunch of pictures, and it's like late at night. I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas, which is where I was promoting my show, the Thunderbird show. And I was literally doing that while he's booking me. And, I'm pretty good at multitasking. And so, like, I was booking that, and I was, like, doing all the stuff that I had, which was a lot of work. Like, one day I'm going to talk about that completely and tell you guys how that all played out. But for right now, the game is to be sold and not told. And I mean that for real in this instance. But one day I'll tell you the way that all played out. But it was a lot of me working. That's the short of that story. But yeah, so what happened was he's hitting me up during that. I send him all the same pictures that I sent to the other clubs, which were fine for them. And then he responds to me with, "You can do better." And so in my head, I'm like I'm busy working on things, and I don't know like what he means by "you can do." Like, if somebody gave me, like, if a booker were ever to tell me, "Do you have more of a traditional headshot, or do you have more pictures of you on stage?" Or, you know what I mean? Like there's ways that they could tell me that they want something to be different, but it's like you're trying to start an argument right now. Then there was another time when I was in Phoenix, and because then I just went ahead and like waited a day or two, and then I just canceled, because it was like, if it starts to be any kind of argument, and like, there were different points where I was hearing about him not paying other comics or starting shit with comics, and for me it's just like a nightmare, because as much as people, like I said, think that I like this, I really don't like this. I want us to be able to go back to doing comedy. I want to make my podcast to be about current events daily, like that Natalie Pedito or Pedoto. No, that's Joe Pedoto. Yeah, Natalie Pedito, I think it is. That bitch that went fucking missing and everybody's losing their shit over it. Like, I want to be able to talk about stuff like that. But for right now, while these things need to be fixed on the scene, and I need the Las Vegas comedy scene to actually know what's going on and why it is things are happening with me the way that they happen, or things are happening on the scene the way that they happen. Because some people don't know. Like, I was talking to people tonight that didn't even know what happened last night, and I mentioned it on my Facebook that I was going to, possibly talk about it, because it all went down at Champagne's, and it wasn't really anything that dramatic, I guess you could say, but it was just annoying. It was just more like being annoying. And anytime that I have in the past, because there's different points when I, like, been trying to be cool with Trouble, because like I said, I want to give him a chance. I want to be open to him. I want him to get it together and succeed, because I think it would also help all of us too. You know what I mean? Like, the more good rooms we have, the better off we'll be. So this is my thinking, and why I give the benefit of the doubt to Trouble, and why I hope that eventually he will get it together, is because, like I said, we should all be able to work together. We should all be able to build something together, and different people are good at different things, and he's good at the flyers. He's good at actually promoting, like I said. And, if he would just learn to harness his personality or whatever it is he's trying to do, then, it would be a benefit to everybody, including himself. But, when I'm hearing all these things, like I was saying, and you're giving me drama over nothing, and when I don't know if my frustration is coming through, and I'll watch on the playback and see, but it really is like that kind of thing. Like the stuff I say, like how trivial the things are, he'll pick on you to try to argue with you about, where it's like, no, I don't, like, so anyway, our chronology continues, and we get to the point where not too long ago, because, I still would go to his show every once in a while. It was in the pool area, which would have been perfect for me because you guys know how I am, and I am always fucking naked everywhere. And so I really did want to do that show, but he was just such a headache about everything that I didn't feel like it. Well, not I didn't feel like, I knew it wasn't worth it. Like not all money is good money. And if I have to put up with a headache for you, then it's not good money, because that shouldn't be a thing. And so, I would go to the show every once in a while, and he'd be pleasant enough, and, we'd be cool with each other. And I feel like he does learn. Like, that's the thing. I feel like, progressively he is getting better. It's just when he takes steps back, it's like a huge step back, and it's very fucking annoying. And it makes you like, I just don't want to deal with you. Like, I don't know why this has to be a thing. But anyway, so we get to the point where, I blocked him on, I don't know which platform it was, in Messenger. I think it was Facebook and Messenger. That was over the, when he was like continuously going at me with different things. There was a time where he hit me up talking about stand-up comics, and he was the expert on stand-up comedians, and so I mentioned some like really big, great comics that I know. And I'm like, well, when you're dealing with that level, then like, talk to me like you're talking to me right now, because that's not what you're booking. And that's just the reality of it, and we're in direct message, and he's like, like telling me he knows who good comics are. And, it's like the locals that he was booking that really, like in the beginning, he was booking a lot of people that somebody said it tonight. I don't remember who, but we were all on the patio talking about it, and my friend was like, you're paying comics that don't deserve to be paid and then not paying them. And so we all laughed at that, because it's just the truth. And so, like I said, I continued going around him, and he was cool and like progressively getting better. So then he says he's going to go to rehab, which like he went to rehab, or said he was going to go to rehab the day after he had started some kind of argument with me, which I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I doubt it. You know what I mean? But like he tried to start some argument with me, and I was laying on my mom's couch, and I can't even remember what it was about. It was on Instagram though. And he was like, trying to argue with me, and I don't remember what it was about. Like, I cannot remember. And it was, again, that trivial. Like, it's like, why are you trying to argue with me right now? Like, there's no reason for us to argue. So then he announces he's going to rehab. And in my head, and also on Facebook, I'm thinking this is fucking great. And so I, congratulated him in some way, because he put up this long post that to me at the time sounded very sincere. Like, I did think like it read in a very sincere way. So I think it is in him to know that, like the behavior just isn't normal, and it's not necessary. But he's post this post, and then I like post something cheering him on, and I'm hoping he was going to get it together at that point. So then he comes out of rehab, and yeah, it looks really soon to be out of rehab, but whatever, different people. I don't know what your insurance is. I don't know anything. So you maybe you did an outpatient, or you're doing an outpatient. Maybe it's not intensive. Maybe you work in nightlife and you just have to get used to being out either way. You know what I mean? But then, he says something about having a bottle, and it was like, that doesn't really sound like sober stuff. But anyway, like this is the way it went down. So we're chatting, and we're all out by the pool, at his spot. I had showed up because I think Claire Hawley was on that night, or maybe it wasn't. No, it wasn't Claire Hawley. But anyway, what happened was, he's like, I'm known as the biggest asshole. You're known as the biggest asshole. I want you to do my 20-year in entertainment anniversary / Mexican Independence Day show. And so, I'm, like I said, down to work. So I don't care about the asshole aspect. I know what he was going for. You know what I mean? He wanted to get under people's skin because so many people do hate him, and then they hate me too. And then I asked the people that I'm actually close with, which, like, some people would say this is a dirty move on my part, but the people that I actually, like, cared about at that point. Now I know more people, but like the people I cared about at that point and knew at that point that he owed money to, I asked him if he had paid them, and he had. And so I was like, okay, cool. Then maybe he's really turning it around. Because, that's a part of recovery, is making amends. You're supposed to make good with the people. So I assume he's either making good or made good with people, because like I said, the friends that I asked said that they had gotten paid now. And so he asked me to do his show, and I say okay. And I know that, because of his reputation, some people would think that you should ask for a deposit or something like that. I was like, I'm completely not going to insult him. I'm going to treat him like I would treat any other booker. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to pretend I don't know any of that stuff, so it is what it is. So he ends up telling me, well, that part I don't know if I want to include, but what I will tell you is like he didn't remember how much money he said he was going to pay me, and so like that was a little bit uncomfortable for me, and on the night of the show, because we had made the agreement on the patio, and I'm thinking, because I know so many people that can be drinking or whatever they're doing, and like I said, he said he had a bottle later. I don't know if he was drinking then. I wasn't paying attention. I don't think about that stuff. Everybody I know is a grown up, so it's not something that's on my mind. I just know everybody that I know that really does business like that usually switches into business mode, and then they remember that they booked you. Or I've had a few people be like, send me a text in the morning to remind me. But, he clearly remembered that he booked me because he posted it very soon after, so it's like, I figure if you remember you booked me, you remember how much you said you were going to pay me too. And so, because to me, that's that's the most important thing, And so, like there was that little part of the situation. But anyway, he booked me, and I was like, I'm going to treat him like any other booker. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and let him either soar and do what he's supposed to do, or let him burn the bridge. Well, I got there. I did the show that night. He did pay me he did pay me the short version of that story is he did pay me. Like, yeah, he forgot the price he was supposed to, or the amount that he was supposed to pay me. And so he paid me part of it that night, but then like the next day or something like that, which there was a point where, because he was supposed to pay me through Cash App, and he asked me to request it from him on Cash App. And there was a point where, he asked me to go meet him at the Artisan a couple days later, like for a drink or something like that, to get the rest of my money. And I was just like in my head, like no. And that day I had a lot of stuff to do, and I wasn't trying to go anywhere. And so I was just, like, just go ahead and Cash App it to me. I sent you the request, like you asked for the request, I sent it. And at the same time, Chris Clark had sent a request for his money. And so like, which I'm going to tell you guys this, and some people are going to agree with me and some people aren't, but this is just like a comedy thing. For me, like, unless you're paying me a lot of money, unless it's something actually worth it, then don't give me a check. Don't give me Cash App. Don't give me Venmo. If you have to, okay. I mean, like, I'm not going to be an asshole about it, but really, cash is the preferred method immediately after the show. And this is the caveat to that. If you do Cash App or if you do Venmo or anything like that, I get it. Maybe you didn't make it to the ATM or whatever like that. I'm not even going to be shitty about that like that. Let me correct that right now in the moment. If you do it, just do it right then. You know what I mean? Either that night or right after the show or whatever like that. Like, nobody wants to be waiting around. But if you have to do it, be on the straight up about it, whatever agreement you make. Really, I say I have standards, but I've had clubs ask me to hold checks before. And I'm not going to name any names, but I have had clubs be like, that check technically wouldn't be good till the 15th or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? Like, I have had that happen, and I've been cool about it. When I can afford to do that, cool. If it's going that great, then cool. But like, the thing is, your money should be, you should get your money within a respectable amount of time, especially doing stand-up, because once we do it, we did it. The show's over, the night's over, it's time to pay me, you know what I mean? So like, that kind of annoying, but whatever, and the fact, like I said, that Chris Clark himself had to pay him. Well, there've been other instances, like he owes money to a Miracle. he tried to pay Tanner Tuttle, but Tanner Tuttle chose not to take the money because he made it a headache, and Tanner Tuttle was just finally like, keep it. Don't worry about the money. Like, there've been different people that he's done it to. Like, I can't even Bruce Purcell. I know he said last night that he was going to make it right with him, and I congratulated him on that. But then he treated it like it was an insult, because what happened was, let's get to where it all boils to a head. Because like I said, that night I did a great show for him. His photographer is absolutely great, and I want to be working with him in the future. And overall, everything was good on Thursday when I performed for him. So I'm thinking, whatever with his drinking or not drinking, as long as he's being cool, as long as he's acting like a professional, as long as he's taking care of people like he's supposed to right now. Because like I said, I didn't know that he hadn't made any effort to make good with anybody else. So there is that. I hadn't gotten updates from a lot of people. And so, and then also there were some people that I didn't even know he owed, which, later on people told me. And I'm just not trying to air people out that people don't already know, or where, it's going to become a thing for them. Because what happened was, last night he ended up coming to Champagne's, which I ended up getting to Champagne's late, which if you're not familiar with Champagne's, and I haven't talked about it enough, Champagne's is a bar we all go to here in Las Vegas, or a lot of us that are doing the open mics on the scene. We'll go to Champagne's on Tuesday night after midnight. They have a show there that starts at midnight, and we'll all hang out, we'll smoke, we'll drink, or the people that drink will drink, and then we'll do stand up. I usually try to go up last there. Like last night I went up last. It was great. But it's a real cool spot to just hang out at the end of a Tuesday on. And the people that are cool, or the people that hang out, are always cool. But it's also a no bullshit spot. You don't go there to start fighting with people or arguing with people, because it's all comics and we're all just trying to chill out now. And so what if you have a problem with somebody? I've seen Fitzy there every week since I put out my farewell Fitzy video, which will probably be right here. But every week I see Fitzy there, and we're completely just we were just neutral for a while there. But then the other night we started talking. Last night we started talking because everything was so crazy. We were had an in the moment conversation. So my point is, you go to fucking Champagne's, be civil. So what? You don't get along with other people. What'd they really do to you? But Trouble had taken an Uber there, which makes no sense to me. But and he got there before I did. When I got there, he was already in full swing. But apparently he had gotten out of the Uber and started trying to start a fight with Randall Thompson, which Randall Thompson, who I've mentioned before, I make no secret of. I like Randall Thompson a lot. I support Randall Thompson. I think he's a great guy, and I think he's been the victim of a narrative when it comes to the Las Vegas comedy scene, and I am not a fan of people trying to besmirch the name of Randall Thompson. But whatever with that, even if he was if he was wrong, I would still say he was wrong, but I'd be like, he still was a victim of a narrative, but he's just wrong this time. But what happened was, apparently, and this was verified by other people, Trouble pulls up in an Uber, jumps out at Randall Thompson on some I want to fight you type of shit, or you don't know what I'll do to you type of thing. And Randall is having no parts of it because Trouble owes him money, which Randall says is $100, which Randall said right in front of Trouble, which today when I was online with Trouble, because we got into it today online, which I'll get into a little bit in a second, but he mentioned, he was like, if I owe Randall money, why didn't he collect? And the thing was, I was outside when Randall was telling him, you owe me $100. That's what it is. And so Trouble was mad because Randall had posted some fuck shit, which is what Randall does, which is what I do, which is what a lot of us do because we're comedians, and that's what we do is words on a comedy board, which I never got to see, but I heard about and I thought it was funny, but not in a way I was shitting on Trouble, just it was funny wording to me, when the person told me, I did laugh. So I'm not going to lie about that. It's what it is. But, but anyway, I'm in that situation pretty well neutral because like I said, I just had a good night with Trouble on Thursday. And so, and he paid me. So for me, I'm good. And So I see Randall, I see Trouble, I see Bruce. I'm not really thinking about anything, but I see them talking about World Series of Comedy and something like that. And then at a point, Trouble shifts back to Randall and is like trying to start shit with Randall. And it's like, is he really starting shit right now? And last week, Trouble had showed up on Tuesday at Champagne's. But last week, I just chose to leave. And he was being annoying even with me last week, And I don't know if he thought he was being cool or if he thought he was being nice or what he was doing, but it just was like the energy was so off for me, that I just wanted to get out of there. And I hate when people invade my space when it's like, I'm sitting right here and then they like, I don't care what your reason is. Don't invade my space unless I really know you like that, or unless I I don't do like Hollywood closeness or, you know what I mean? Like schmoozing that way or whatever. Our relationship is our relationship. And, but I was like being pleasant about it and everything like that, but it's like, I just decided to leave. And there was at least one other comedian that decided to leave too. And they're the ones that told me that that's the reason they left. And then I was like, yeah, that's why I ended up leaving too. But like they told me first, it wasn't something I brought up. I just remember being annoyed in the moment. And once they reminded me, because I shake shit off fast, And so once they reminded me, I was like, yeah, gross. I remember that. That was technically why I left. I just, walked out like a lady and was like, let me get the fuck out of here. Bijou wants a cigarette. It's her house, her rules. So we get to last night. He's starting shit with Randall, because I guess it cooled off between him and Randall because by the time I walked up, like I said, it was like him and Bruce talking about World Series of Comedy stuff, and Randall was standing out there. I'm maybe just smoking or getting air or whatever. Penny Prince was out there, like we're just kicking it or whatever. And like I said, since we just had that good night together on Thursday with me working for him, I immediately walk up, give Trouble a hug, and he doesn't hug me back, but it's because he's yelling about something, and I'm just treating it like, that's his personality, I guess, or whatever, like that, you know what I mean? Because I hadn't known that he had already went in on Randall, and then it was before he did it in front of me, you know what I mean, when they got into it, which Randall was not trying to egg on at all. Like, he wasn't being antagonistic in any way. He's just like, I don't want to talk to you. Like, that's all he was saying, was like, I don't want to talk to you and I don't want you touching me. Which, if you owe somebody money and they're not coming after you for that money, the least you can do is leave them alone. Like, that's the way I see it. Well, really, the way I see it is you're just supposed to pay people what you say you're going to pay people, and then if you decide that they're not professional, then you never work with them again. It's basically like another version of fuck you money, you know what I mean? Like, I'll pay you your money, you get the fuck out of here. We already, we both fulfilled our parts of the agreement. If the comedian doesn't show up, if the comedian doesn't do their time, then, if they bomb, then you still have to pay them, but you just never book them again, and they know why you're not booking them again. And if they ask, you tell them why they're not booking you again. But in none of the instances have I heard that any of the comedians that he shorted on money or not given their money, because some people he's given parts of their money, because, once I say something, everybody tells me everything, and that's just the way it is, and it's great. And, I try to protect people's privacy, but at the same time, if I notice a pattern and I see it and I feel like you turned into a while ago bad business for the Las Vegas comedy scene, and now you're trying to make it even worse, because now not only are you not paying people, you're showing up to make people uncomfortable. Literally, that's what you're doing, is showing up just to start shit at a business that actually makes money. Because that's the thing about Champagne's, is there's some regular people there and then there's some comedians there, but everybody there is usually drinking, or there's people playing the machines, or drinking and playing the machines. Like, this spot actually makes money, and it's a good spot for us to be able to work out our stuff. So now you're jeopardizing that by showing up, trying to start a fight there, and we're all being as nice and as patient as possible. He was mad at me because I mentioned about him and the roast thing, which I didn't even mention his name at all. I just posted that screenshot that was him asking me to do a roast, and it was like, I don't want to do a roast. And I've told everybody that, including Brian Moses, who runs the roast battle. Like, he wanted to get me on the Comedy Central version, and if you want, tell him about this or ask him about this, because this is something that we just chatted about, like not we just like the other day, but like that we actually chatted about, because I know Brian Moses for a long time. He always wanted me to do roast battle. I never would do roast battle. I would show up and perform like on the show part of roast battle, but like the like just doing like a regular set, but I never did roast battle. So then he tried to get me to do it by asking me to do the Comedy Central version of it, which I know I would have had to like do an audition for them or whatever. But with Brian Moses like actually telling you he wants you to do it, and me the way I write, like, believe me, that would have fucking happened 100%. But I didn't want to do it because I don't know any of these people, and I'd have to research them. And for me, like, that's where I am a purist when it comes to comedy. Like, that's why people get mad at me sometimes. I will explain that really quick. I am kind of a purist when it comes to comedy, so it pisses some people off. But I'm not like that about everything. You know what I mean? I'm not like pretending to be the most morally upstanding, blah, 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 whatever. I'm a person that's made a lot of mistakes. But when it comes to comedy, my feelings about it are very pure. And what I like about roast, when you have an actual good roast, is it's a bunch of people that actually know you, and even though they're shitting on you, at the same time they're honoring you, and they know the real shit to say to you. They know the funny shit that's gonna fucking like, yeah, that burns, but it's because you're my friend that you even know that, and we're great, and I'm gonna roast you at the end. And like, it's supposed to be a good thing like that, not like a bunch of people come on and let's say a bunch of shit that like I could read on the internet that isn't anything about me, and I don't have enough respect for any of them to roast them back, because I just feel like, yeah, what am I doing here? And so, I cut his name out because I wasn't trying to like in any way like, but I've been asked about the roast before, obviously, like I said, Brian Moses, and then there's been other roast people have asked me about along the way. And like, besides roast of America, because who couldn't roast this country? You know what I mean? I did roast of America. Everybody agrees that was great. Even if you don't like me, it was fucking great. But like I said, it's not like I don't think I'd be good at it, or like, I did roast back that's how I paid for my food for several weeks to go on Thursdays. Was I did a roast at the Friars of Beverly Hills. It was when they were running Friars of Beverly Hills, and that was a great club. And they had a roast after hours one time, and the director of entertainment made it rain on me and that was when I was first starting out. So, it's like not something I'm worried about in a way like, oh, I can't do it or whatever. It'll be great when I actually do it, but it's not going to be worth it at this point. Financially, it's not going to be worth it even. Like, the money he said to me, which nothing against anybody, just wasn't a lot of money either. And so it's like, I don't want to have to sit through those people. You know what I mean? That's one thing. I'm going to be subjected to a lot of bad jokes, and I really can't put together a dais, and I don't want to put together a dais for that. Like, like, fuck that. And so for me, I was just saying that online. It wasn't anything to do with him personally. That's the point I was trying to make. But last night at Champagne's, he tried to turn it into an argument between us, and I was like, no. And I had also put with it that, a person would have to offer me $10,000 minimum, $10K minimum for me to do a roast. And some people would say, well, it's not worth that. My point exactly. So it's not worth it to me, because I don't want to do it. Like, if I don't want to do it to begin with, and I put a price on it like $10,000, then either meet the $10,000 or leave me the fuck alone about the conversation, because I don't want to do it. But so he was trying to be insulting about that, and he was like, told me, like, I don't, or you're not worth $10,000. And in my head, I really felt like, well, if that's your attitude about it, then don't talk to me about it until you feel like I am. Because the proper answer to that should be, I wish I had $10,000 to give you, but unfortunately I have 5. And I would have said, give me the 5 cash. Let's fucking do it. That's the way it would fucking work out. For real. Like, like, technically, let's be honest, 2 cash, I get full approval over the dais, like, let's do it. And then we'll put together a good one with people that I know that are funny, and I'll even help them with their jokes if they want. So it's fucking great. You know what I mean? But it's not going to be worth that. So let's keep it at 10, because you're not going to give 2 anyway. And if you say you're going to give 2, you're going to give 8, especially from what I've heard. And you're not even going to give 8. Let's not get into it. But the numbers just don't add up, is what I'm saying. And so, no, I don't want to fucking do it. So leave me alone. And so, but he tried to turn it into a thing where he was trying to insult me by saying that, when I was like, we're making the same point. I'm saying it won't make enough money, and you're saying it won't make enough money either. So I'm not insulted by that at all. I know what my draw is right now. So, like, it's nothing for us to even argue about. And so nobody's trying to argue with him. I'm not trying to argue with him. Randall's not trying to argue with him. Randall has been very clear about the fact that, like, you know, you just owe me money and that's what it is. And he doesn't want to hear anything else. When you owe somebody money, they don't want to hear you talk. That's the way it works. Like, you know, they've bought their silence by leaving you alone about that money. That's what it is. Randall bought silence and not being touched for $100. You know, and like I said, all of this would be between you and these people. It really would. If, like, you know, because everything calms down. There was a point where he was trying to, like, you know, start with different people, but we're all out there. It's like all the comics out there, and it's so clear that nobody wants to do anything to him. Nobody wants to harm him in any way. Like, no, like, everybody's trying to, like, just be patient while he's telling us, you know, I put you on the biggest stages you've ever been on. And it's like, what, the Artisan? Because that's not the biggest stage that even, like, the open micers at, you know, that go to fucking Artisan have done better stages than the Artisan stage. Nothing against the Artisan, but, you know, like, if you go to Soul Bellies, that's technically a better stage, a nicer stage, you know, in square footage, a bigger stage, literally a bigger stage, you know? And so it's like, I don't know what you're talking about that you, and, you know, but this is the way he's talking to us. And, like, since he's drunk and, you know, like, sometimes you got to accept you're not a good drinker and you're not a good coker. And that's what it is. And I don't care how anybody feels about anything on that. That's just the truth and what's going on and why that behavior is happening like that. And I wish that would stop too. Like, the coke, like, no. Nobody wants to deal with the fucking cokehead rampant trying to fight people. Nobody should have to deal with that. Like, that's the other thing, and the most important thing is, like, nobody wants to be fighting. Like, today he was threatening online that he was gonna, you know, come out to chanclas and whatever else. And it's like, is that what we're doing now? Like, we have people showing up to fight or to start a fight or to make things, like, that's really what you're doing? Because I know I was accused of that, and I was like, I would never want to be that person, because why would you want to be that person? Like, really, why would you want that in your life? Just call that in. Like, no, fuck that. You know, but, like, that's what we're, so, and when it comes to me, like, he was mad because I just called out the fact that, you know, like, he hadn't paid people. And like I said in the beginning, when you can pay your way, you can say your way. That's the way it works. Like, you know, you're not making rules. You're not telling anybody, like, promising people a gig and then not paying them is just not paying them. That's what it is. You're just making them work without paying them. And then on top of that, you want them to fight you. You want them to actually have to physically fight you because you didn't pay them and you feel like they should still be nice to you over it? Like, in what world is that the way things work? And like I said, it's turned out that there's a lot of people that he still owes money to. And I named like 4 of them on Facebook, and then he was like, you know, oh, you consider that everybody? And it's like, well, you really shouldn't owe anybody. Like, everybody should have already been paid. That's the way it's supposed to work, is you make money putting on your show, and then the comedians get paid what they're supposed to pay. The DJ gets paid what they're supposed to get paid. Everybody's just supposed to get paid what they're supposed to get paid. And that's not something that you're supposed to fight over. We're not boxers. We're comedians. Why would we want to be fighting? And Randall Thompson, like, is smart to stay out of it, because that's, like I said, that's like what I had to do with Gooch. Like, you have to stay out of it because they will get you in a bigger situation and a bigger problem than you need. And then the reputation, because of your reputation, because Randall has a similar reputation to mine and is just as deserving of it as I am. Like, yeah, we talk a lot of shit, but really, it's not like we're doing anything terribly destructive or toxic. It's the people behind the scenes that talk about people, which are coincidentally the same people that were talking about Randall, which I didn't realize because they were my friends. And yeah, I knew that they were talking, but I also thought maybe he is. And then I met him, like, really got to know him for myself, which, as much as we've talked now, I really do feel like I know Randall Thompson. So, like, this isn't something I feel at all uncomfortable saying, or like I don't know him well enough to say this. Like, Randall Thompson is just good at doing his shit. He's got a sharp tongue, and so he tells a lot of people to fuck off, and that's what it is, you know? And so if you don't pay him, of course he's going to feel like fuck off, and he doesn't want to have to fight you over it, and he is not afraid of anybody. It's just like, why should he have to risk him possibly going to jail or whatever the fuck would happen? Because that's the other thing I forgot to tell you, is when he was trying to start shit with all of us, there was a cop literally sitting in the next parking lot, like literally. And so you've got a bunch of brown and black people and Sean Fitzsimmons, because Sean Fitzsimmons was out there too. And Sean Fitzsimmons is a ex-MMA fighter. And so, like, you know, if he wanted to take somebody down, he could still take somebody down. And there was a point where Trouble was, like, you know, telling us that, like, you know, that we were all against him. We were all, like, wanted to fuck him up or whatever. And he said something like that because he was so fucked up. And all of us are like, that's not what we want at all. Like, all of us were really being very nice to him. Like, even as fucked up as he was, and all the shit he was talking to us, we were trying to diffuse the situation. I can honestly say that nobody antagonized that situation. Everybody was trying to, like, even to a point, like, almost placate him. Like, Randall was very clear about not wanting to be touched and not wanting to talk to him, but like, Randall went completely away from him. You know, it was like Randall wasn't even an issue anymore, and he's still trying to yell at all of us about how he's the king of the world and, you know, everything in Las Vegas, and we're not shit and we haven't done shit, and we're still just sitting there like, okay, well, you know, whatever. Like, you know, and then he comes in and he takes a picture of us because, you know, there's a point where we got it to where, okay, he's going to do what he's going to do. We left him outside, you know, we all went inside. We're all sitting around just being like any other Tuesday at this point, because it's not, none of this is the most important thing in the world. And all of us on the inside of Champagne's knew that. Like, you know, everybody's just like, Trouble was the only one that thought this was all so pressing and whatever it, you know, was supposed to be. That was the only drama going on there. 100%. Like, everybody else is just like, yeah, let's just get back to fucking hanging out, you know what I mean? And so we're all hanging out, having a good time. He comes in, he takes a picture of us or a couple pictures of us. Nobody says anything. Everybody just lets him do what he's doing. He's stumbling around and stuff like that. I go to walk Stephen Roberts out because Stephen Roberts had come out, and, you know, I had introduced him. No, I didn't get to introduce him to Trouble, but I introduced him to some other people, and then he knew some other people, which Stephen Roberts has advanced in the World Series of Comedy, and congrats to Stephen Roberts. But, you know, so I was walking Stephen Roberts out because Stephen Roberts had just come to check it out, and Stephen Roberts hadn't seen any of this happen because he was inside, you know, playing the machine because he has a podcast dedicated to it, and he's apparently decent at it. And can just play it like a game. And so it's cool. But I walk Steven out, and I hear yelling over there, but I'm like, whatever, you know, it's comics there, whatever. And I thought everything was completely relaxed, you know, because like I said, nobody was mad at Trouble. So I know nobody was starting with him. I knew that that was going to be good. And now they're separate, you know, like he's over there and the comedians are all over there. I go to walk Stephen Roberts out. And then I hear yelling, and it turns out that was Trouble getting kicked out because he actually tried to start a physical fight with Randall. And it's like, you're ruining it. You're ruining it. Like, why can't we have peace? And it's only because of you, because otherwise we would have had peace. Like I said, there was, you know, every week I go, and like I mentioned Sean Fitzsimmons, which I do respect Sean Fitzsimmons right now, even though I don't respect the way he handled that situation. I do respect Sean Fitzsimmons because I had to go into his room, which I talked about on Farewell Fitzy that you saw earlier in the link. But watch all of this if you're interested and want to know what's going on and you're not up to date, because it's all is getting better when it comes down to it. And that's why I'm continuing to do what I'm doing for right now. But actually, I had to go watch a friend because they wanted me to see their set and see if I had any pointers and stuff like that. So I made it a point to go out there, and, you know, Sean Fitzy didn't make a big deal of it at all. And, you know, I watched my friend do the show and whatever. And so we were pleasant, and it's cool. And like, as far as I go with Fitzy, we're pretty neutral. We're even cool because, like, you know, we talked the other night when all this was happening, because it was just like, you know, there was just a quick minute where it was like, why is this a thing like this? Why is this person just trying to disturb us. Because when it comes down to it, like I said, the most important thing to remember about all of this, if you take out the drinking, if you take out the coke, if you take out anything that, like you would say could be a person's personal vices or the way that they choose to live their life, because I don't care about that either, as long as you're able to do what you need to do. But like, if you take all of those things out, just the nucleus, the most important thing that I'm trying to get at here is that Booker and comedian should work together and really have no problems. So showing up and starting any problems, and like, there's no threat to champagnes, like right now, or like where it became, because they did get him out of there. I think Bruce Leonard, who runs that room, actually had to step in and be like, because that's one thing, you do got to police your room if you're going to run one of these rooms. At the end of the day, you're the person that's in charge of the show. And so Bruce Leonard finally had to speak up, which Bruce Leonard doesn't want to have to be speaking up on that level. He's just there to run the room and but he did step up and just be like, you just gotta go. I can't have this happen there, because it can't. Like, you're gonna ruin the whole situation for all of us because you're mad at people that you haven't paid. Because and like, he's threatened. He's like, that's the thing. Like, why are you threatening people that you owe money to, or that are just like, tired of putting up with your shit, because it's unnecessary. Like, that's, anyway, I don't know. I mean, like, there's a part of me that just wants to give a list of all the names I know, but I feel like that's like, it could get, because, like, say I name a name and then he decides to start calling them all tomorrow or whatever, you know what I mean? Trying to talk shit to them, because he really does do everything I'm saying. Like, it's just like, why can't you just be cool? Like, just do your job, be a promoter, everybody will like you, because that's the thing that I want to say. Here's the thing with Trouble. For any of the comedians that wonder, also, like, another reason that I would pull for him is I can tell that he genuinely wants us to like him. He genuinely wants to be part of the crew. And, if he were to just get his shit together and fly right and make right with everybody would be fine with it, because people on this scene will put up with anything. Ask Gooch. But let's not go into that. But, like, it's just the truth. You know what I mean? Clearly, he wants us to be cool with him. He wants to be cool with us or whatever. So just get your shit together and be right. But I would tell most people just not to fuck with him for right now, because it's too fucking toxic, and why put up with it? If you have to, if you choose to, if you need the stage time, I'm not going to judge you, because like I said, I had already known that he had done some shit when I chose to do it. So I'm not anybody to be like, you shouldn't. But I think the most important thing for a person like Trouble would be if everybody just stops doing his shit, so he can go ahead and hit rock bottom and realize that he can't be doing this to us. And also other bookers would realize that they can't get away with not paying us, because it sets a bad precedent for any one of these bookers that doesn't want to pay us, that we have somebody that is not paying some of us and still continuing to get comics to do his show. So, but like I said, I would not try to be like, if you do his show, you're not cool or whatever like that. Like I said, one day I hope he turns it around, but right now he's just not showing that behavior, and he repeatedly shows that behavior. And I say this is a person that has been paid by him. Like, it's just, it's like I said, not all money is good money. And so I would say that maybe Trouble needs a little bit of rest when it comes to the comedy scene, but you guys can do what you want to do. I personally, though, just stay away from me with that bullshit. Like, altogether. Like, I know Trouble's going to have feelings about me making this video. Really, this video was made with the best intentions. I really do hope you get it together. And I'm not being even a little bit sarcastic. I'm not trying to even be a little bit shitty. Everything I said on this video is true. About everything I've said has been true, and especially about me wanting you to be able to be a productive part of the Las Vegas comedy scene, because you do have a skill that I and some of the others don't have and don't really want to develop. So you could have a place here, but you just need to make right with people, and you need to stop making unnecessary trouble, which I know you would say, like, trouble is my name. Well, make that a cute reminder of who you used to be before you grew up, because some of us just want to make money on this scene, just want to get better, just want to see other people get better, and you're standing in the way of that. And when it comes down to it, nobody's going to have your side on that. Like, you are truly trying to be destructive. So, you can try to turn it into like, well, your reputation is bad too. And I'm fine with that. And I accept that, which is more than you're doing. Anyway, this has been Thai Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Stay unbothered.